Hello, everyone. Welcome to FS Changemakers. If you are a parent to a pet cat or a dog or any animal for that matter, chances are you've heard of the brand called Heads Up for Tails. And today we have the brains and minds behind that brand, Rashi Narang. Before starting the brand, Rashi was an HR professional with Citibank, prior to which she studied from London School of Economics and Cardiff University. And then obviously she went on to give us this amazing brand. Welcome, Rashi. Thanks for being a part of FS Changemakers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Adarsh.
So Rashi, let's start right at the beginning. How did the idea of Heads Up for Tails come, and what made you excited to start this?
Heads Up for Tails was inspired by a very, very, very special puppy named Sara. And she came into my life and pretty much changed it around because in my quest to be able to find quality products for this newest furry bundle family member, I looked through lots and lots of pet stores across the country, but I was very disappointed by what I found. There was just nothing that I felt was of quality, whether it was in toys or treats or accessories or literally anything. And I think that's when the idea came to me. It was specifically on Sarah's birthday when I went shopping and I came home empty handed, that I think that the spark went off, that there may be other pet parents like myself who want to have quality products for their furry family members. And really that was the start of it all.
Awesome. So, how did you approach building this brand in a category which, in your own words, at that time almost didn't exist in India, right? Because you couldn't find anything at that time.
I have to tell you, Adarsh, it's been a very challenging journey. Um, because when I wanted to start out, there was no one to really learn from. There was no expertise available in terms of hiring, in terms of vendors. There was no supply chain. So I literally just had to start everything from scratch, learning a very very steep learning curve, learning on the job. Started with a few products at home. Even then, I really struggled because any vendor that I wanted to work with really took offense that it was something for a dog or a cat. They were like, they really just, many people showed me the door and they said, we will not make this. I don't know why, but that's changed now. And I think that, when I took the products to pet stores also, the few that existed then, everybody said, sorry, we're not going to keep this, it's not going to sell. So I didn't have a front end or a back end or a supply chain. The customer also sort of didn't exist. I guess it wasn't like a top of mind need, and so we've literally had to build it all from scratch. And there was, I mean, really, I just started this for Sara, and I didn't have any big dream at that time on where I want to take this, what I want to do. It was really just for her. And, um, just being able to put all of those pieces together has taken us a very long time. It's been now 13 years that we've been doing this and building out the market, educating the customer, explaining to them that if they have the privilege of sharing their life with an animal and how special that is, what do they need to give in return, how much do they need to understand that species that is in their home. And while we have a lot of people have that connect of, my pet is my child or my friend or my sibling, or so many different emotions that you feel with them. At the end of the day, they are a different species with different needs. And that's really what we want to do, is to really explain to people what is your dog or cat really want from you. And what they really want you is to understand the species that they are, and what do they need in terms of nutrition, in terms of well-being, in terms of mental stimulation, in terms of just exercise, and all of that stuff, grooming requirements, all of that stuff. So the journey has been amazing, and there's still miles and miles to go.
So in this journey, obviously, you would have many people join you as part of the company, as employees and your partners in the journey. So how's that experience been building, the team for this company, and what are some of the values that you look for? Is being a pet lover one of them?
The team building part has been difficult because the mark I mean, overall, when we started out, the market was tiny. And to be able to get experts who are also pet lovers was very hard, but that was definitely a prerequisite. We needed people with extremely high emotional intelligence who could really relate, have a lot of empathy, have a lot of passion. And so it has been difficult to find the right people. Now, as we've grown bigger and the brand has become more popular amongst people, it then gets a little bit easier to hire talent. We get a lot better applications, and we have a wider talent pool. But still, there aren't, we literally have to train people on the job, because nobody's done this outside of here. There are very few experts who also have technical business expertise. I mean, what I mean is pet experts who also are business experts. And so it's been hard, but I think we've found a lovely set of incredible people who are very passionate, who want to be able to make that difference, who understand that it's about really like building a whole industry and the whole category by itself, and that needs a very different kind of perseverance, and really belief in the long term. So slowly but surely we're getting there. And yes, for a lot of the core functions, we do have, being a pet parent as a big essential. In some, not so much. Like, for example, if it's, a role like accounting or finance, where the expertise is more important, then not necessarily. But for all of our marketing functions, a lot of our, so many other retail functions, etc., we do want people who understand pets really deeply, or at least are passionate about and are willing and open to learn.
And how has the entire fundraising experience been? I believe you've had a very interesting strategy there. So why don't you share some more details on that?
Sure. Well, I don't know about strategy. We really haven't actually had much of a strategy. I think we were lucky enough to meet people who understood and resonated with our long-term vision and what we're trying to do. And so far, we've had, angel investors, family offices, high net worth individuals who have invested, and who come with the same value set as us. So it's been, that way, we've been very lucky. We haven't really, until now, we haven't really us gone out, but it's always people who've come in, which is, I know, a big blessing, and I'm really grateful for that. So I think that, we've just been really focused on building our business, building it right. Of course, there have been 100 stumbling stones along the way. We've fallen, dusted ourselves off, gotten up, tried again, tried harder. I think that's just going to continue. So I think when it comes to fundraising, for me personally, I believe that, who you're bringing on board is so important. And also, why are you fundraising at the moment? Do you really need the money? Do you have a very clear articulation of what you're going to do with the money? So, just, who are you bringing and why are you doing it? And also the timing. I mean, the timing is so important. We were bootstrapped for 8 years. I was in a bit of a personal situation. I was out of the country, and I knew that despite a lot of offers, even before I moved back, I knew that it wasn't the right time. So I just wanted to leave that thought here that when you're fundraising, do it for the right reasons, do it at the right time, and do it for the right people.
Makes sense. So the last 1 year has been challenging for people across the country, across the world. What have been some of the specific challenges that you faced as somebody in the pet care industry?
For us, I think the biggest challenge was, retail sales took a huge hit because stores were closed. Then, when we got permission to operate under some part of essentials for pet food, etc., just footfalls were, of course, very drastically affected. Supply chains were completely broken. And so I think those are some of the, I mean, I'm sure supply chains for all businesses have been affected, but those were some of the very hard challenges. Also, just navigating to suddenly, shifting to a whole virtual model, which I'm sure, all of us did, including you guys, and just holding so many pieces together at a time of a lot of uncertainty, not knowing how this is going to go, where it's going to go, when this is going to finish. I think it has been a very challenging year, but I think that what we've learned is that it is so important for a company to be agile, to be adaptable, and to be able to move quickly with what's going on. And I think they always say that change is permanent, change is constant. I think that's something that you have to embrace and just go with the flow. There just simply isn't another way.
And how has the period been for you personally? How have you, managed the stress of being running a company completely remotely at times, etc., and otherwise?
It has been difficult at some points, yet there are so many little blessings. I've got to spend a lot more time with my daughter at home. I was a very, very busy working mom, working long hours, so I'm grateful for that time. Grateful for so many little things, just being safe until now, our families being safe. But yes, it's been hard because a lot of people live in bigger setups. They don't have space to be able to work from home without interruptions. Boundaries have blurred so much, even for me. When is work time, when is personal time? There isn't any of that left anymore. And also just wanting to do simple things like go to a cafe, go to a bookstore, go for a movie, take my daughter out somewhere, just have a little give her a little adventure. There's so little, and the kids have been on online schooling for the last year. So of course it's been lots of ups and downs, but I think I prefer to look at the brighter side. And I have to tell you that the one big thing that has just kept me happy and balanced and just smiling every day has been my dogs. I don't know what I would have done without them, because they're just there, and they just make me smile 50 times a day, no matter how gloomy the day is. So I'm so grateful for that. And I think that everybody with a pet will resonate on that emotion, because we've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with them this last year.
That's phenomenal. So, taking a step back and again going to the early days of Heads Up for Tails, how was the response of the family and people around you? Because you were venturing into a space which almost didn't exist. So, did people stop you that what is it that you're doing? Why leave your awesome job and get into this space which probably won't work out?
Oh, yes, there were so many of those people, so many. But also, there were a lot of people who cheered me on, and for which, I'm so grateful. A lot of family and friends did. But of course, there'll always be that the two sides. A lot of people saying, "What are you doing? Who is going to buy this? Are you crazy?" So, but I'm glad I chose not to listen to them. And sure, they put lots of seeds of doubt into your head. But I think that if you can just listen to your heart, then you will hopefully make the right decisions.
And how was, with all these people, with negative thoughts around you, or at least some of them, how was your personal mind frame at that point in time? Were you like completely committed, or were you also in two minds at times thinking, "Ye kya kar liya?"
Well, I think I knew that I was on to something, but you don't know really like where this is going to go. And I think that all of those pet stores rejecting me outright and being like, "This is not going to work, please leave, who are you, get out of here," that was really like a bit of a bummer, because you're like, okay, I have all these products that I think are really nice, and I've tried them out with my dog and my friends, families and doggies and cats, and everybody seems to be liking it. But these guys who run the market are saying, "Oh my god, no." So I think there were so many times during the journey where I felt I was in a dark tunnel with no light. I was like, where is the light? Where are the customers? How is this going to work? How will I ever get this right and get this off the ground really? So many, many, many points in that journey, which were just um, confusion, self doubt. But I think that there was always like this tiny voice that was always saying, keep going, it'll be okay." And so that's really just it.
So now, 13 years on, what makes you think it? What made it click?
I think perseverance, for sure. And I would say that, we decided to always stay very, very close to our customers. A lot of our products have been built out of conversations of just trying to understand what are the problem areas when it comes to their life with pets. And no one is going to tell you, listen, this is what I need. But through those conversations, you derive, what could be a problem, and how could our product or service help to solve for it. And I think that because it's been so empathy driven, it clicks with customers, and it probably a lot of people didn't even realize that they needed it, but now that they see it, they're like, oh my god, I can so do with that, because it could help me solve a real problem. So I think those two things.
And how you've evolved as a person and a leader in these 13 years.
I was so young when I started out, Adarsh. I barely had any work experience. It's been a very steep learning curve for me, just really just upward, learning every day, made so many mistakes for which I'm grateful that I could, because there's simply no other way to learn. And I think that the more you fail, um, the more you're innovating, the more that you're trying. And so for me, it's really about, am I failing enough? And if I'm not, that means I'm being too safe. So, lots and lots of, um, I had to take a lot of decision based on gut, because there wasn't enough. I couldn't make a business plan. There was no reports. There was nothing to like substantiate what I was thinking, what I was wanting to do. So some things went right, some things didn't go right. And so it's just been like that. That's just been the way that it is.
And now, what are your plans for the next 5 years?
Um, for the next 5 years, I just want to make this I just want to reach every home in the country which has a pet, and I want to be able to give them great products, great knowledge, and great services. And I want to be able to help them improve their relationship with their dogs or cats, understand how special this is, and I think make better people, because I think that when you live your life with an animal, you become a better version of yourself. You become more empathetic, more compassionate. And I think that if that were to happen in a zillion ways across the country and the world, how amazing would that be?
So, going back to a point that you hinted at a while back, right? Being an entrepreneur is a 24/7 job. So how do you take out time for yourself and to do some of the things that you really love doing?
Um, Many times I don't. And after a few days, I'm like, okay, this is a bad idea. So I figured out that if I get my mornings right, then I run my day. Otherwise, my day runs me entirely. So, what I try to do is wake up before everybody else and just have a little bit of time to myself to do the things I love, a little bit of reading, a little bit of journaling, some exercise, some meditation. And then I am just replenished and recharged to like really go out there and do stuff. But there are difficult days, and I somehow, I can't get it right every single day. And then those days are just, I am kind of going with the flow instead of, the other way around. So that's just how it is. But it's hard because there is a huge responsibility on you of so many people, of so many expectations, of so many shareholders, of so many stakeholders, employees, customers, everybody. And it's hard to just switch off and say time out, and I hope that I get there really soon, because I think it's important too. And I know a lot of amazing companies that have gotten there. So just trying to build, very adaptive leadership in the company, trying to put great people in place and systems and procedures, and yet be super agile. And I hope that we get there someday where I can really step away feeling free. So
So, Rashi, you know that you're a change maker with us as part of our FS Changemaker series. So, we would love for you to share a story which defines you as a person and turned into the kind of person that you are.
Um, well, I think there are probably a few, but What's coming really to my mind is Sara, and that moment when I got her home, because I've always grown up with animals. I've always been somebody who was deeply connected to them, and I was always, in that space. But I think that her, like the way that she shifted the journey for me, to really, really learn so much more, to be able to make a larger change. I think it was that moment when she came into my life and literally just changed the path. And this is who I am. This is who I've always been. An entrepreneur ever since I was little. Really deeply connected animal person ever since I was little. And I think that she just brought them together. And just bringing out all of those things that go along with those two buckets. So I'd say that moment.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us. So now we are at the last leg of the discussion, and so we'll have three quick rapid fire questions for you, which you have to
Okay.
answer without thinking a lot. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, let's get started. So the first one is the
Sure.
three Indian women that you look up to.
Well, I just saw the movie Mary Com, so I think that was just inspiring how her journey, and I would say her is top of mind. Um, I also really admire, Kiran Bedi's journey, her bravery, just how hard it was for her and how she made it. And I think the third person would be an aunt of mine, Neelu Khanna. She runs, an NGO in Dehradun called Asra. And I saw her start by just, asking a few street children to come and study with her at a nearby park. And now they've scaled it up to like 4,000 kids, right from orphans to children who are just rejected and thrown into the dustbins by their, I mean, all sorts of crazy stories. The amount of change that they have made, and the way that they have brought in and changed the lives of these 4,000 children now is just so inspiring. And I've seen it from the start, and I've seen how they've built it up. They've got, buses with computers that go into areas where the parents won't send the children to school, crashes, all sorts of amazing stuff, amazing classrooms, amazing schools, just wonderful. So I'd say these are the three people that I wanted to share today.
That's an amazing set of three women, I must say. Uh,
Thanks.
so second one would be five wardrobe staples that you need to have with you at all times.
A pair of jeans, a white shirt, a nice black dress, a nice pair of trousers, and a nice jacket.
Awesome.
For me, that's.
And before we end, any message that you would like to give to our audience today?
I would say listen to your heart. I mean, there's so many naysayers, there's so many, the mind plays havoc, but the heart speaks really softly. It like almost just whispers, and you have to just hear it out. And I think that in most cases that, you really won't go wrong, and you just follow what you were what you were born to do. So yeah, follow your heart. And it's not always it's not always an easy path, but I think that when you're following your heart, you can overcome a lot more obstacles and a lot of little bumps and challenges along the way than if you were not.
It may be hard, but please listen to your heart. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, for listening to us today. And thanks so much, Rashi, for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Adarsh. Thank you so much.